We're at.
Good. We're at.
Oh, what? What's it at?
Why is the slurp so loud?
Really?
You need a beat.
Really? That was fake fair. That was fake fair.
Sound check 1, 2.
Alright, so welcome. Thank you guys for joining us again for another episode of Caribbean Edge. I am Sean Spalding.
I'm John Wilson.
Shauna Whittingham.
And Keith Heron.
Well, that was a strong entrance.
I want you guys to guess what time it is.
So I want to thank, first of all, we'd like to thank everyone for going on this journey with us and joining us on these last couple of episodes and going forward. And I think it warrants mentioning that as you see these episodes come on, you're going to see different formats, different ways in which we're approaching different subjects, different effects as far as video, all different times because we're growing, right? And the reason for that, just share a little insight with you, is because this is something that we wanted to do, but we didn't want to wait till everything was perfect. So we decided to take the bull by the horns and just go with it and grow with it so you guys can share an experience with us as we go forward. So I hope you appreciate that.
When I grow with us.
Thank you very much, Sean. Thank you very much, Sean.
Fantastic.
Well done.
Alright. Guess what time it is? Good. Alright.
So this episode is about identity. And identity as it pertains to biracial or as it pertains to binational. Now that may be a new term to you guys, but binational meaning first generation Americans where your culture is deep set in whether that's Trinidad, Jamaica, Grenada, Barbados, whatever it is, or Nicaraguan, whatever it is, but you are first generation American. So how do you cope with that adjustment, right? And we're going to share our experiences. And again, if you guys have something to add, please put your comments down so we can bring that up on the next show. But Sean, how has your experience been as it pertains to either biracial or binational? Do you have any experiences to lend to that?
Absolutely. I'll address the binational. Born in Kingston, Jamaica, raised in Montego Bay, and I have to admit that I came to this country unwillingly. Those of you sitting here, you understand the drill in Jamaica. We have one major university, and so what most parents do is they save up money and they send their children to usually either someplace in the States, Canada, or even Europe, mainly England. And so that's why you find so many of us around. So I came here to do my tertiary level education, and the biggest culture shock was the very time I was filling out my college application where the document asked me what my race was. Never before had I thought about what am I.
Yeah.
It never occurred to me. It didn't matter to me.
It was never an issue.
It was never an issue. It's something I didn't grow up thinking about. And so on the paper at the time, I was a little taken aback because the option at the time was African American, and I didn't at the time consider myself African or American.
See? Yeah.
So that was, I remember saying to my mother, "Mommy, what I must put, because I don't see me on the paper, who I thought I was." So anyway, that was the initial. Lots more to share, but that was the entry. I've been here longer than I was in Jamaica, but it's still very much my roots.
Okay, all right. Well, my personal experience with that, same thing, is as far as putting how you identify, because within my household, my family's household, we're not African Americans, black. That's how I identify myself. And so when that whole term started coming into play, it was quite strange. But I think the polarity that existed in my growing up was more having to do with binationality, because I was actually born here. I was born in Brooklyn.
Go Brooklyn.
Brooklyn in the house.
Brooklyn.
Yeah. All good things come from Brooklyn. BK. To Iron Star. All right. But
Big up Jay-Z, what's up?
so that was my birth. Now, growing up, my family had moved back. My parents had moved back to Jamaica, so I grew up. I went to primary school in Jamaica, but it wasn't that long. It wasn't that long in Jamaica. Then I came up here and was going to school here. No, that's where the issue came into play, right? Mm-hmm. So I came up, and the first derogatory term I heard to me was banana boat. Oh, so this was during the whole, this is when all, refugees, whether it's from Haiti or Jamaica, were coming in.
Cuba.
Yeah, Cuba, and were coming in. So this was a huge stigma, and I would be lying if I said it didn't affect my whole self-esteem, self-confidence. It affected it greatly. So that was an issue that I had to deal with. And then I'll get into that a little bit more, because that's outside. Inside my family, then that's another issue. But go ahead.
Well, for me, growing up in Jamaica, I was referred to as brownie. That's all I knew.
Yeah.
And that wasn't offensive in any way, shape, or form. So I had the same experience Shauna did when I migrated to the U.S. And I was actually filling out an application for a department store for my first job. And it asked me pretty much if I was black or white. And I really never questioned that before. Coming from Jamaica, I didn't have to make a choice. So I went up to the receptionist and I said, it asked me if I'm black and white, and I'm actually both. What do I pick? And she stared at me, she couldn't answer. And I said to her, do I just pick both? And I was naive and innocent because I'm coming from Jamaica. I didn't know the differences as far as how Americans look at that. So I picked both and I got the job, thankfully. But I really didn't know that I was anything different than Dawn, know?
She should have asked if you put hot sauce on your food.
That would have been, right? That would have been. How do you like your food?
Yeah, I can understand that struggle though. You put white, that's an insult to your father. You put black, that's an insult to your mother. You're both.
Right.
You identify with both.
Right. And I was actually born in England, and then I was kidnapped actually and brought to Jamaica by my father. So I was raised as a Jamaican, so I don't identify with my British culture. So I identify with my Jamaican culture as well. So Shauna is right. My dad is black and my mom is white. And so I won't deny either one. I am who I am, and I'm proud of who I am.
So Dawn, as far as your journey has been, it's been an issue both of binationalism and biracial.
Correct.
Okay. So that's
Deep.
pretty, that's deep.
See, that's
All
all
right?
Yeah, man, I'm cool. I am such a strong person. I'm cool. I am so cool. In fact, that's why I shared on my Willzilla, on my blog. I talk about these issues as well.
Yeah, good therapy.
Okay.
Oh, I get that turn.
It's such an interesting topic.
We gonna talk about the whole?
Yeah.
Oh, Lord.
This
I
was a
don't know
mistake.
why.
This was a mistake.
I don't know
This
why.
was a mistake. No, there was no plan. But
There wasn't any, and it just turned out that way.
I don't know what this says. We got Angela Davis.
Yeah.
We got Che Guevara.
Yeah.
I don't know whatever.
But we're gonna roll with it that we happen to be hitting on national and race and stuff at the same time. Anyway, I don't think there is any underlying messages there. So, as we go on, the only thing that I really had to deal with, of course, growing up in Jamaica, I was born in Mandeville, Manchester, Jamaica. And big up all the people from Manchester, all the shunt of them and the rest of them. Big up on yourself, see? So anyway,
Bad man.
So anyway, and shortly after, when I was probably around 5 or so, they Dad took us to Kingston. I started going to school there.
Come town.
Yeah, of course, town, city. Country people call it town, city. Alright, so I went to city. So anyway, when I got to the United States, it was a little bit different than you. They didn't send me up here to go to college. They sent me because I knew I was going to get in trouble in Jamaica.
Still getting in trouble.
Still getting in trouble, I was saying. So I said, you know what? You're not going to do anything good with yourself down here. You need to go to foreign. So anyway, and there I was. So first when I came in, we came into New York and then Miami back in '84. So anyway, the one thing I remember is getting in a fight almost every day because of the sound of my voice, my accent. Every single day I got in a fight. So, you know, I had to either pick up the twang, the lingo, or I was in a fight and I chose to fight because when you come from Jamaica, well, I don't know about most people, but I come from Jamaica. I was the smallest one in my class for a while, and then when I got here, I grew. So just because of that, I was picked on because the same thing, the banana boat business, and you know, people used to think that back in the 80s, they used to think that people in Jamaica swang, twang, that would run around naked, like in the jungle. I mean, some of these ignorant people thought that. I mean, they need to study. But anyway, it is one of the things that I used to get into a fight with all the time. And I had to develop, I had to teach. I had cousins that used to live up in Rhode Island and then move all the way down. And they were here for years, so they sort of got me in with, you know, the rest of the Black Americans and the native, what we would call, what people would think they're native here, so the Caucasian and so forth. And it was a constant battle all the time, trying to find identity.
Yeah.
So you wanted to see where you fit in at every time. But the controversial part, because I guess I was a funny guy at that time, you know, I'd give jokes and everybody always, well, this guy sounds cool. I was accepted in just about every place.
Because you're just that type of guy.
Yeah. They used to tease me back in Jamaica though, so I got teased in Jamaica. Hey boy with the pussy eye, you know, and my hair used to always be scraggly and all, and even after a fresh cut, you know, and discolored and so forth.
Yeah.
Hey pussy eye boy, such and such, and then I come over here and see anything. It's like my life, I'm tired of this, you know. So anyway,
we'll be having therapy.
Are you okay?
I'm not okay. Yeah, so anyway,
We're here for you. We're here for you.
thank you very much.
All right. Now, I know that a lot of people watching this show can identify with this issue, with a lot of what we're discussing now. But at some point in the journey, we have to identify, pick a side, you know, or if we don't pick a side, would you identify with more, or do you find yourself going between different identities? Switch up, you know. It's the switch up game where you're one way with family, you're one way with parents. You try and mold yourself to what people think that you are, right? So how have you found that you've had to make any changes, or have you found that you need to make any changes?
So going back to when I first came, you know, I'm in college and I was an outspoken child. My parents allowed me to be who I am. They allowed me to embrace who I am. So coming to this country, when my professors would tell me that they didn't understand what I was saying, it caused me to go inward. But I didn't stay inside for very long. You know, I had to deal with we spelled differently. I spelled color C-O-L-O-U-R. I spelled check C-H-E-Q-U-E. And to have I got high marks in grammar and English, and to come to the States and just my papers come back with all these red marks on it, you know, and again, it caused me to go inward. But where I am now, Sean, to be perfectly honest, is I don't switch up. Yeah. I don't switch up. Exactly how I'm talking to you now, is how I talk to my colleagues at work.
But I'm
It's how I
sure
talk-
you've heard that term, that you don't sound Jamaican.
I have
Like in
not.
professional circles. You know that time when
Yeah.
you need to go into that professional mode
Mode,
and you need to sound very corporate. Like, so John, this is exactly where we need to go. You know,
Right.
this whole corporate jargon.
I would be lying if I said I didn't hear it. And usually, again, going back to college, I did taper the accent
Yeah.
because I was told they could not. And I wasn't talking Patois. I was
Just let's pronounce.
exactly so.
Yeah.
But when people say that to me, my first response is, "Yeah, piss me off."
Yeah, okay. There you.
Yes. Well, for those who know me, I continuously change up because the one thing that I hate is when you're talking to someone and they keep
Excuse
saying,
me?
huh?
Excuse me.
What was that? Excuse me? What it is? So you'll hear me go if you know me well or you see me interacting with quite a few people. Because I do get this from some of the professionals I work with. They're like, man, I didn't know you. What was that you were speaking with that guy over there? Who's Sean? What were you? What were you talking? What was that? What
It's
kind
Sean, no.
I sure I'm not deaf.
Yeah. And I told him, I said, I went back in my Jamaican type of dialect, where we just let everything just fly off the tip of our tongues and we just let one word roll into the other and we shorten some, we forget about H and we start to put emphasis on certain things. Emphasis on certain things. So, that's just how it flows. And then because I don't like the interruption or the person continuously asking me, what did you say? What did you say? So I find myself start to enunciate a lot more so that they can understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And then it was somewhat like a twang here and there, but it gets the main basis that I think is in conversation is to get your point across.
Yeah.
Or get theirs in at the same time. So that's it. And that's what I try to do. I try to enunciate. Why are you looking at me like that?
No, because there's a fail-safe. I'm just thinking about it. There's always that fail-safe moment. And I don't know if you guys have experienced this where it doesn't matter who you are around, but if something happens abruptly, like you buck into or something, what is the first expletive that comes out of your mouth?
RASS.
Okay. Right? It's nothing having to do with American, it has to do with your heritage, right? That's where it comes, that's the first thing that comes out to your mouth. So you can't hide for too long.
True.
No.
True. If that's your intention.
Yeah, exactly. If that's what you're trying to do.
Yeah, when we get excited, we get angry. You always revert to who you truly are.
We get, as in Baltic, I always say, you get hangry, and we get cross,
misheard,
and cantankerous. Yeah, go ahead.
So I had in my household, we had to speak proper, and I think part of it may have been because we were born in England, so my dad did not allow us really to speak patois at home. So you'd have to hide with your friends and really speak your dialect. But
is that right?
I knew that, sorry, I knew you did something. But yes, so I always had to speak proper, which is probably, carried through in my professional career, correct.
Right.
But of course, like anyone else, you can switch it on and off when you're ready. But throughout my career, everyone has always said how much they love my accent. So you can still hear it in certain words you say, it comes out, but it's so refined that I think it's appreciated more and more throughout society, especially as culturally we grow as well.
Right.
And Jamaicans are always known to be so professional and such go-getters in life that we've made our footprint on society itself. I get mistaken though for other cultures. So a lot of people will think I'm Brazilian, or they start speaking Spanish to me or Portuguese to me. And so that's when I have to say I'm Jamaican, because they're not looking for the lighter skin tone Jamaicans as well.
Right. For those of people who don't know what a Jamaican
looks like, yeah.
which
You
is
don't look
anyone.
Jamaican.
Yeah. But my journey is in as far as being binational, not American, but from Jamaican heritage, is I found where I almost needed to find one that I was more aligned with and stick with that. And for a long time, that was Jamaica, only Jamaica, right? But then you're not born. Then you were reminded by family, because you'd have family that would say things jokingly. And I've heard from other people also where they've had their look at them and say, "But you're not really Jamaican. You're not born. You're born here. You're not Jamaican. You're American." So at that point, I said, "But you're actually right. So I'm American, but Jamaican heritage, right? So now, how do you meld those two?" And at that point, it got to a point where I started looking at what I knew as me being Jamaican, and then seeing American and having this negative connotation from my Jamaican family about Americans and the things that they hold as this is part of American character that were not necessarily liked by Jamaicans, because Jamaicans tend to be a very prideful people, right? So it took a lot to really pull those things together and actually become who I am, right? So I don't know if you guys have had the same experience.
Yeah, I had the same, and as you were speaking, there was something going through my mind because I grew up with quite a few other Caribbeanites, some from Trinidad and some from Barbados, from Guyana and so forth, and I used to get mistaken also for Dominican for a while, a lot of the time they come and start rolling tongue and everything start going and I'm like, no, habla español, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And do the best I can to tell them, oh, you look Dominican, XYZ and so forth, and go on. But the views I get that were common from all Caribbean coming here is just the way, and even other nationalities from Central America and so forth, Honduras, Ecuador, all these, everything else that comes up, in the Middle East, Panama and so forth. Central America and so forth, and Mexico. They thought that we came here to take jobs away from most of the poor Americans.
And there's some people that are getting that stigma right now.
Yeah,
being looked upon as though they're here to take people's jobs.
Right, and you had to walk this line of where no, I just came here to work. I think that's why I got into fights mainly because I used to just stick to my job. I came in, I didn't know anybody, I didn't want to talk to anyone.
Yeah.
And when I did, we're extremely diligent at anything we do, and we had pride in our work. It doesn't matter where you work. If you were even bagging groceries, you were doing a damn good job, and you were also looking to the left and right of you and say, I gotta be better than this guy and this guy and that guy and that guy. I guess that's just a part of our Caribbean culture, our Jamaican culture, where we always want to excel,
stand out.
And we do it with swag too.
All this, with a rag in our back pocket and a back on one and so forth. And true,
No, not really.
No.
That's what it is, Jamaica.
So it's too Jamaican, and then there's me, mommy and daddy. I know you guys reading better than
Fire for
trying to do, move up. So anyway, that's it. I mean, we're always gonna come across that, and my way of getting around everything, of course, is to make people laugh. And then they're like, this guy means well. All right, let's move on.
Yeah. Dawn, have you seen the need to compensate for any, or seen the need to where you think you need to identify more with one side of you versus the other side?
Absolutely not.
No.
I am
never.
who I am, and you accept me for who I am. Never.
Okay.
I'm proud of my Jamaican heritage. I'm proud of the British heritage. I don't know a lot about my British side, but I don't live my life with regrets. So even though I may not have had an awesome childhood, I had a very strict parenting, I just think it made me who I am today. So I don't have to identify with anyone. I'm Jamaican. That's where I grew up. Even though I've lived here most of my life.
Then how do you answer that question then? the person would come to you and say, so, Dawn, what are you?
I'm Dawn.
Okay.
That's it. Dawn.
And if they press, just Dawn.
Well, it depends what they're
You know what?
pressing.
Yeah.
I feel that.
Because they're asking that from a racial point
Yeah,
of view.
you know what? I'm going to ask everybody this question.
All right.
Ask yourself that question right now. What are you?
Yeah.
Ask yourself that question because I'm going to ask you. All right, you first. What are you?
So I prefer to approach it from who
Who?
am I?
There, right?
So, you know, that I see both your questions the same. I grew up in paradise, literally. You know, I grew up on a beautiful island. I had an amazing childhood. You know, growing up in it, you didn't necessarily know it or appreciate it. I knew it,
Yeah,
but
that's
I
true.
have a greater appreciation for it now.
Yeah.
You know, on the weekends, we didn't put on underwear, we put on our swimsuit because we're going to inevitably end up on a beach.
You thought I was going
I thought they
You thought I was going on.
They were right.
No, I literally grew up in paradise. As a matter of fact, I didn't want, when it was time to come to college, because, you know, we graduate high school much younger in Jamaica. And so I graduated high school 15, 16 borderline. I was too young to come to college at 18, so I worked in my parents' business for 2 years. And so I earned money, lived with my parents, lived in this beautiful place, and all I used to do in my spare time was run up and down. We'd go on the grill, we rent a place in Ocho Rios, we go on party. I mean, we had a blast. And growing up in Montego Bay, that didn't have much of the nightlife like Kingston. We had to create our own fun.
Yeah.
We used to have scavenger hunts. You name it, we did it. Really, really beautiful. So when it was time to come to, as a matter of fact, my mother, I found out years later, she went to my boyfriend at the time and said, you convince her to go because as soon as she goes, as soon as she come back. Because the intent was for us to come get educated and go back. But 4 years is a long time to fall in love with a country or a place. And I'm 1 out of 5, and I'm the only one who actually didn't go back to live. But so I grew up there. I learned to drive there. So when you say who am I like yourself, I'm Shauna. I do consider myself Jamaican, even though I am an American citizen, and even though I've lived in this country longer than I lived there, my roots, everything about me, I consider to be
Unapologetically.
unapologetically.
Okay.
Who am I?
Yes,
I'm Jamaican.
Shay. Yes, Shay.
I'm Jamaican through and through, and I love it. Now, all my other friends, I hope you feel the same way about where you're born, because I am not going to hold you back on saying that. But for me, I just think there's nowhere else on this planet that's like Jamaica. I'm telling you, that's just, and I love my people. I love their swag. I love the way they talk. I like when they're rough. I like when they're soft. I like when they're bougie.
Yeah.
I like everything about them, and I think that flavor is what I really like. That you can get just a little taste of every spice in Jamaica.
Right.
The food,
You know?
the music, the vibes, the personalities.
And there's something in particular that I used to, you know, when people used to insult me, after, of course, when I matured and I really found a love for my country, when people used to laugh at me, from people from other countries, and say, why are you wearing yellow shirts and red pants? You know, what's with the red pants? What's with the blue
And the rest
pants?
of it.
The rest of it. What's with that, right? And I used to just laugh, and it's at a certain point where I'm like, oh my God, that is true. And I would laugh. I said, because that's who we are.
Yeah.
And I mean, you say it with such conviction that they're like, oh my God, taken aback, like, and you, okay, maybe you can see them like, well, maybe you have some confidence. Maybe I should.
Maybe that's pretty cool.
Maybe I should wear a
It might be
Rasta
kinda
belt.
cool. Yeah.
And yeah, go ahead.
I feel like what I'm hearing you say is we've brought, or because we live in this country now, we love this country, we represent this country, but we've brought our own flavor
Yeah.
to.
Our own
Yeah.
flavor, our
Welcome to
own
Rocket.
communities. I mean, we.
Hence the show, right?
Yeah. It's the show.
If someone had asked me that question, what do I see myself? First of all, I am American. Black man, I'm American. with Jamaican heritage, Jamaican parentage, right? And it took a while for me to embrace that side because other people looking on would say, no, but you're American. But that's who I am. And part of that is because I wasn't brought up necessarily with a sense of pride in being American.
Right.
That I had to foster that on my own, you know? So it took a lot of understanding who I was and knowing that, okay, you first in your family, first generation who is here, how are you going to form your identity? You know, and it's a process, and I'm sure there's a lot of people that are going through that right now. But that doesn't take away from the fact that I'm extremely proud of my background, as far as my heritage. You know, it makes me who I am. And there are many people that go through that right now. There are many first generation Haitians or first generation Jamaicans, first generation Trinidadians, first generation Cubans, especially in South Florida, also in New York, you know, other parts of the United States, but a lot of people
I tell you
are going
what,
through the same thing.
And the sweetest thing for me is when I meet one of my Haitian, Trinidadian, even some people want to separate Trinidad and Tobago, Guyanese, you know, my Bajan, my Bahamian. I want you to be you. Because that is why I have you as a friend. That's why I have you as a colleague. Because you bring something, you make this colorful palette right here. And it's necessary for you to have pride in where you're from. And especially a person like both of you who actually was born somewhere. It's like, what? 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 Say yeah one more time.
As a matter of fact, there's a strange thing happened a couple months ago. So I'm thinking, because my grandmother was actually born in Nigeria. So I was actually looking and I said, you know, actually, it's a lot more complex. Because, you know, I have two passports, Jamaican and US. I said, maybe I need to go get a Nigerian passport. I don't know where I can go that far with that.
You know, Keith, as you were talking about all the different islands, I just said like Major Hype was in the back of the
Fire up that. Shout out to Major Hype.
Is it true? Where you from, brother? Because I heard something. I hear you're American. Come on now, come on.
Well, I'd like to thank everyone for watching this episode, for taking part, which I know you will. I know you have tons of questions, tons of comments. Don't hit too hard because I hurt on the side. You know, but leave the comments. Let us know what you guys think, and we look forward to sharing more and possibly expounding on some of these other topics on future episodes.
Thank you for tuning in to the
Career
Edge. Remember to like, subscribe, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.
And carry a pigeon and smoke signal too. Send us some of those.
Alright, send it, bring it home. I'm gonna know
stop. Yeah, man, do your thing.
Man, press
button, man. Right to your tongue. Right to your tongue.